Oh, can I move on to the next one? Because I'm so excited.
Yeah, you can move on to the next one.
Sweet. All right. So one more chapter of The Last of Us. This was just published about a few weeks ago. Um, I mean, what do you think about this? Another adaptation, right?
Yeah,
Um,
so
y-
recently they put out a documentary for The Last of Us Part 2. And a lot of it
mhm,
they didn't really talk about the game that much. They kind of talked about the controversy around leading up to the game, which makes sense, but I was more interested into like the actual development of the game. They didn't really dive into much about it. It's still an interesting documentary, and I think you guys should go check it out.
sure.
Because they mention a lot about like Crunch. They like Naughty Dog worked like was that company that they really worked on Crunch, and it's something that I could relate to a lot. But then they also mention like, transphobic and all this about like how they dealt. I'm like, okay, you guys are focusing on the wrong because they mentioned like, the headlines articles and they're really getting upset about like people calling them transphobic or like women haters. I'm like, you guys are ignore those like Naughty Dog, ignore those headlines. Those don't mean anything. Like that's all crap to be honest, and it doesn't matter.
Is
Um,
it? I have missed these comments. Maybe I'm just really bad and out of the loop. But no, I think for some,
well, it's because
it's interesting.
when they hear Ellie is a lesbian, they're like, "What?" It's like,
Oh,
and it's like,
that's
who
like
cares?
very well documented.
It's well, yeah, it's very hinted at, especially in the first game, with her DLC, and people, it's I don't care if Ellie's a lesbian, like it might not line up with my things, it doesn't affect her story. And until you try to force that into people's faces, then that's a little bit of a different story. But I don't think The Last of
Yeah,
Us does that. I don't think it
but
shoves it.
that's a part of her story the whole time. It's not like it was
Yeah.
just
No,
created.
it's just that's
I
just part of
see,
her
and that's
character.
that's what's interesting to me is people will like, oh, I don't want to blah blah blah. I don't like this or blah blah blah. It's like, okay, well
Yeah.
then just don't watch it.
Well, no,
It just
they hate on the game for that reason only, and next they don't actually judge the game on what it is. Now, there's fair enough, like people actually don't like the game for certain things, like a certain character's death or the pacing of the game, which I can believe, I can get behind that
sure.
stuff. But if there's just like hating it because there's lesbians in it or gay couples or whatever, then you're just stupid.
You just have problems.
Yeah,
So, like, go watch something else. It shouldn't
yeah.
be that difficult. So,
It
and no, I agree. I think it's interesting because then it ruins the ability for people to tell stories.
but yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, it's like,
I
oh,
think
somebody thinks and looks different than you. I hate this movie.
yeah.
Okay,
And but I think they focused
cool.
on that way too much in the documentary. I think they let it get to them too much, and it should not really get to them that too much because who cares? It doesn't.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, they're gonna go still buy the game. It's like
yeah.
it, but one of the things that interests me, and people are taking this like, oh, this means Last of Us 3 part is confirmed because you watched the documentary, right? Or did you watch part of it?
I
Or
watched part of the documentary.
okay.
My brother was talking about it, and I sometimes I try and follow, and I'm like, oh, okay, like that's kind of cool. Like, I'm glad when they do like behind the scenes, when they do documentaries, when they do stuff like that. It's so much better because it makes you feel like, oh, I'm
It,
involved in
it
them shooting,
yeah, it gets you an understanding of what either went wrong or went right. It gives you an understanding how it
yeah,
feels to be part of a big studio like that. And it's like you can give them some relay, but also but not too much where it's like, okay, well, I understand that you're a big studio and so much can go on. You can do you it's that's cool. It's not like with EA where it's like, oh, that's fine. We'll add that stuff later in. And like, it's everything's
for
cool.
$5 billion.
Yeah, no, like you should still be like, if the game comes out bad, it's like, no, this game sucks. You need to learn from this and do it better. Like you still have to have that mindset, but also like realize how much effort actually goes into do this type of stuff and how much intercourse that there is for it. And so because when someone says, "Oh, this game is a one," or this movie is like a 1 out of 10, it's like, do you really know what goes on? Like now there are
Yeah.
games. I'll say that there are games that are definitely that. Like, The
Oh,
Walking Dead, the Destinies, and all that.
wait, what? That was a great game. No, I'm
Uh,
just kidding.
And so like there are definitely games like that. But when you
Sure.
look at The Last of Us Part 2, that game looks amazing. It runs amazing. And there's good.
Well, and that's the thing is the game is exceptional.
Yes.
It's an exceptionally well-made game. And so when people go, "Oh, I don't like this or that," it's like, okay, well,
What do you not like
it,
about it really? It's
yeah,
like, and next they
exactly.
could not answer the question.
Well, usually it's something silly, and then
Well,
you're
yeah.
like, well, you just like somebody else's. You just like a different, like, if I prefer pancakes over waffles, it doesn't make pancakes better or worse. It's just a preference of like, oh, I like this game better.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to things like Poor Things, which is absolutely terrible, just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah.
But no, it's very interesting to me when people like will go die on a hill with, oh, this game is terrible. Like, okay, that's definitely different.
Yeah.
So, but
But and at the end of this documentary, Neil Druckmann says he has a concept for Last of Us Part 3. And I think he also says like he never really had that, like he never thought that there was going to be a Last of Us Part 3 or something on those lines. Did you look up a clip about that part at least? Like did you hear or
yeah, so here's the thing. The for those types of clips or like anything in general, I, the weird thing is I don't have a preference as to whether or not they make it.
well
I
no.
think that they've told the story that they need to. Now the
And
question is,
is there more?
will that be sufficient
Yeah.
for everybody?
Well, and he even mentions like, if there's another thing that you want to work on that you're passionate about, we'll focus on that. And so like, and people, but says like there's a concept for The Last of Us Part 3. And everyone's like, "Oh, Last of Us 3 is confirmed." It's like, no, no. He says he has a concept, a story that is not like in his head, and it might turn into something, or they might use it for The Last of Us TV show,
I hope that they do use it for like a TV show.
maybe.
I really hope because a concept that if they can execute like something like that for like a part three, I
Yeah.
mean, think about how much success they're gonna have so much success.
Well, because then it's
So
like, well, you got to go watch the show to see the full story, then type of deal instead of playing the
yeah,
games. But and I've also been seeing like people say like, oh, The Last of Us Part Two. This is why The Last of Us Part Two won't work as a TV show. I'm like, actually, it's gonna work way better as a TV show because the things that they do in the game feels forced because it's a game.
yeah,
And I think I think what they're going to do with the TV show, it's going to be way better what they do in the game, and it's going to make you understand. Now, again, I'm not one of those people who's like like if you explain to me, maybe I'll get a better understanding, and that's the reason why like that you should like it more. I'm not one of those people.
yeah,
But like I understood what they were going for, but I think it was executed not really well in the game, and they have a chance to tell the same story but execute it better.
yeah,
And so,
which is kind of nice if
yeah,
they can execute it better.
yeah,
So,
and I think they're going. I think they're going to, especially if they're going to split it into 2 seasons, because I guarantee they want to nail a certain
oh,
thing, so then people are not like whoa, and
well, especially because they get mad over the stupidest things, and you're like,
but
why
yeah,
are you? Yeah,
it just comes down to believability and execution, and they really need to hammer that part. It's like you got to believe somehow these groups of people found this certain person and this person gave up their name for this person to fall. Like you have to get that really well done. But in the game,
yeah,
it's like, hey, I'm this person. That's my this is a certain person, and this is luckily the person that you were trying to find and you wanted to kill the whole entire time. So it's like, oh, well, that's kind of ironic, isn't it?
and that is, yeah, it is a little ironic, honestly, but it'll be good. I think I have a lot of faith in their ability to storytell. So But you never know.
Thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see the full-on podcast, I'll leave a link in the description below. And you guys can also check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like. And if you guys want to, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the topics as well. So leave a comment on it. And if you guys are new to the channel and you guys enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button because we have a lot of other stuff on the channel. As a reminder, this is a monthly upload on the Big Talk with Austin. And this will also give you guys the opportunity to submit some topics to us that happen throughout the month. So if you guys want to do that, go check me out on Twitter and follow me there. Tag me whenever something interesting pops up that is movie reviews, TV shows, any like pop culture related type of stuff. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like always, I'll see you guys next review. Bye, guys.